definitely the world's greatest expert on this particular project. Mr. Alok Verma was the chief engineer of Northern Railway and also for some time chief engineer of this project. And in that capacity, he had had the occasion to look at this project. He also had the occasion to uh, come to the conclusion that the alignment that the railway board has chosen for this project, for this line, is not suitable at all. It is going to be beset by lots of problems, and therefore he studied all the mountain railways in the world and proposed a different solution, which would have been a much shorter, straighter, though somewhat steeper railway line in the mountain section. So the the height that you have to climb in order to go from Katra to Katra to Banihal is roughly about 1 kilometer, roughly 1,000 meters. Now the railway board had put a restriction that you cannot have any alignment where the slope is more than, initially they said more than 1 in 100, later they said more than 1 in 80. So the result is if you want to climb 1 kilometer, you have to travel at least 80 kilometers in order to climb 1 kilometer for the slope to be less than 1 in 80. Now the distance between the two is only 56 kilometers. 50 kilometers. Between Katra and Banihal is only 50 kilometers.
Route length is 111.
But they have now made an alignment with a route length of 111 kilometers. So it's a serpentine route which has a large number of tunnels, large number of bridges, a lot of curved tunnels, and two very large what are called mega arch bridges on the way. Most of the route, 97% of the route travels through the tunnels or bridges.
90. If you include bridges, 95%.
95% of the route goes through tunnels or bridges. Now, Mr. Alok Verma had proposed a straighter route which would have, the distance would have been only
About
68 kilometers. The slope would have been slightly higher,
144.
but it would have avoided all these curved tunnels, etc. And you could have run the proposal that he had made. It was found later by the Sridharan committee, which was appointed at the instance of the High Court by the Railway Board. Railway Board finally appointed a expert committee headed by Mr. Sridharan, which had 3 other members of the Railway Board to go into this project. They went into this project and they gave a very, very scathing report saying that the alignment that the railway has chosen is totally ruinous, unworkable, will have lots of problems and therefore should not be continued. And instead they recommended the alignment which Mr. Alok Verma had recommended. However, unfortunately, the Railway Board did not accept the recommendations of the Sridharan committee, and the Railway Board persisted with their serpentine alignment, and as a result of which, the project has been enormously delayed. The cost overrun, which Mr. Verma will tell you, has been enormous, and there are several very, very serious safety concerns about the project. Now, I would request Mr. Alok Verma to tell you in detail as to what has happened, what are the implications, etc.
Thank you, sir. I would open by saying that whatever has happened on this Kashmir project is very much because of Mr. Prashant Bhushan. If we had not taken so persistently the PILs, first PIL, second PIL, then third PIL, the third PIL resulted in formation of the expert committee by Mr. Sridharan, which recommended all these changes. So all this would not have been possible but for the PILs which he pursued. And of course, very important role was also played by the CAG, the CBC, and the PAC, Parliamentary Accounts Committee, because the CAG criticized very badly this project, handling of this project, They said it was a grave failure to start construction without geological surveys, or in fact, no ground surveys were done. The PAC did very in-depth review. They called railway board for face-to-face discussion, and finally they said we don't accept any of these excuses. You fix up responsibility. And then CVC also gave a report which was really very critical but more subtle. People will not appreciate. It said, that you are handling this project, by giving KRCL and Konkan Railway, which are two PSUs of Indian Railway, to execute this project, and they have got basically almost full control on the project. So, what is the role of Northern Railway? So, CBC said you have basically come up with a sort of you are diluting the controls on this project. Who will eventually be responsible for this finished completed line? So, besides the PIL, our country's top statutory authorities, CAG, PAC, and CBC, they all warned Railway Board not to pursue this alignment. Now, I will briefly tell you what is wrong with this alignment. Maybe I'll take about 10 minutes. You see, when the general public, they see a lot of photographs of Chenab Bridge, and there is a huge cable stayed bridge. So they all identify this railway line with these monumental bridges, Chenab Bridge and Anjay Bridge. And railway keeps on hyping it up, that this will be the world's tallest bridge. Yes, indeed, it's the world's tallest bridge, but nobody really wants to make a tall bridge, at 300-meter high. Because what is the point? You will have lots of problems, if you make such a high bridge. But they are bragging about it that, no, it's the world's tallest bridge. Then they say it's a marvel of engineering and things like that. So people have a notion, which is very different from the reality. The reality is that its cost is unbelievably high. We have given you analysis, detailed analysis, based on the actual last available government data. What is the cost in 2012, 2013, then 2016? From there, we have used a proper way of escalating and then come up with the conclusion. So it is astounding that the in the south, which is also in a hilly terrain, of course, it is not that difficult, but there the cost is 70 crores per kilometer. Now here it is 800 crores per kilometer. 11 times more. Of course, if the terrain is difficult, you can expect the cost may go up by 2 times or maybe even 3 times. But why has the cost gone up by 11 times? So that is the enormous cost. Now let's see look at the cost in another way.
It is the highest cost of any railway line anywhere in the world.
Probably anywhere in the world. I have studied such extensively mountain railways, which are the costliest railways, and I don't find anything anywhere near this. Nothing like this. China has built some very tough lines. There is a line from Chongqing to Lanzhou in the north. Which goes through a very tough terrain. The cost is way less. About 1/4 of this, and it's a double line. In fact, Sridharan committee said that if they adopt my alignment, the alignment which I had prepared, then it will cost less to build this line than what it will cost you to complete balance work on the existing single line.
That means the double line on his alignment would have been much cheaper than the cost of just completing the single line.
The balance work. So there was great economic sense also. The committee said that you abandon this thing. So this is the cost aspect which people in the country are simply not aware. The railway authorities will never reveal these figures, so nobody knows. If media goes, because many media people ask me, but they say, sir, they are not, they don't say anything. Because you have to get them to say something. Now let's come to the capacity. Now what has happened is that because the terrain is so tough, such huge bridges have to be built along the geological fault lines, full of landslides. So over the years, they have made compromises after compromises. There are passing loops in stations because in a single line, one train has to cross train from the opposite direction, so it has to stop. then the train will pass through the passing loop, and then this will go ahead afterwards. Then for precedence also you need passing loops. So normally in a single line you provide two passing loops at every station. Here what they have done is they have provided only one passing loop at half of the station. So you have compromised on that. Now they have reduced the platform length also. It should have been for the 24 coaches, because it's a single line, you will have limited number of trains, so you have to use the full capacity, and the solution is to run long trains. But instead of 24 coach trains, they have made platforms for 9 coach trains. Now the CRS sanction which has come is only for 8 coach trains. So instead of 24 coach trains, it will be running 8 coach trains. And then the capacity in terms of number of trains per day on a typical single line is about 30 trains per day. 30 trains in one direction, 30 trains in, that's the usual capacity, maybe plus minus 5. Here it is only 10 to 12.
If it had been a double line, what would have been the
Then
capacity?
it is 180. 180 pairs.
So instead of 180
pairs of trains, you are getting only 12 pairs of trains at the back.
So it's.
I mean, it's mind-boggling, unbelievable, but it's a fact.
It's like Modi once said कि मैंने एक बार मनमोहन सिंह जी से बोला कि चलो बुलेट ट्रेन बनाते हैं. बुलेट ट्रेन में कोई बैठेगा नहीं, लेकिन हमको दिखाने के लिए हो जाएगा कि बुलेट ट्रेन हमने बना दी. उसी तरह से.
हाँ सर, he said कि वहाँ शंघाई दिखाते हैं हमको, शंघाई हम दिखाएंगे कि ये हमारी बुलेट ट्रेन है, something like that. He said. So I told you about cost, then about capacity. Now let's come to the what. Nothing can be done about the cost. Nothing can be done about the capacity. That is lost. What we can do about it, ensure at least it will be safe for the people, for the passengers. What is lost is lost. You cannot do anything. You can learn lessons from it for the future, but they don't seem to be learning lessons. But what can be done and what we are focusing right now is on safety. Now, because they are very large, massive bridges, at least 10 bridges are really big, that you will never encounter anywhere in mountain railways, anywhere in the world, whether you go to Switzerland or Austria or USA or South America, anywhere. 8 bridges are really gigantic on this. Biggest, of course, is the Chenab Bridge, and then is the Anji Bridge. The Chenab Bridge is 359 meters above the bottom of the valley, which is Chenab River Valley. And the other one, Anji, is about 192 meters. So these are all extremely tall bridges, but other 6 bridges are also massive. So there is a clearly laid down rules issued by the government of India, that for all non-standard bridges, load test will be done. What is a non-standard bridge? The kind of bridge which is not existing or already on Indian Railways, which has already not been load tested and passed for safety. So any bridge which is not an exact replica of bridge that you are already existing, you have to subject it to load test. And this is a very clearly written, the same which Mr. Bhushan in his legal notice to the railway clearly mentioned all these things. So the requirement is load test. You must do load test on all.
What does load test mean?
Load test, basically what happens, let me explain this. When he makes a very unusual type of bridge, okay, then you first do the design. Design is a paper, and you can make some model in the lab, subject it to some loads and some wind forces and some earthquake forces. Okay. So it's all a theoretical work supported by some modeling work. So in these designs, you make several assumptions about the material, behavior of the material, behavior of the structure when it will be subjected to loads, normal loads, earthquakes, wind forces. So you make a lot of assumptions. Because you don't know everything. Such a bridge is not existing anywhere, so you don't exactly know how it will behave. So
also the stress at the two ends of the bridge,
yes,
which are anchors.
I'll tell that, because that's very important. This is, of course, load test on the bridge. Now, load test also tests the foundations of the bridge. And at the foundations of these bridges, they have made giant cuttings, On Chenab Bridge, one cutting is 125-meter high, the other cutting is 150-meter high. Well, 45-story building, that height cutting, and that cutting has got two of the spans supported on it, not the main arch, but the approach span. This is where the main problem arises, and this is why the Sridharan committee said that on this bridge, on account of this bridge alone, we will say scrap the project. Because it's a fragile mountain. We know the equilibrium of the slopes is very limited. Many factors, human activities, earthquakes, floods, and all, they can cause landslides and collapse of the strata. So in the load test, you will be testing all these things, how the foundation is behaving, how the cut slopes are behaving, are they stable or not stable. Now, third thing is the quality of construction. Now, a bridge like this involves a lot of hidden defects, which visual examination will not reveal. For example, extensive welding has been done. Enormous welding has been done. Maybe thousands and miles of welds have been done on this bridge. And the main arch is filled with concrete to give it more rigidity. The arch is made of steel plates. Okay. Both the ribs connected together, they have been filled with concrete. Now, filling with concrete is a very, you can say it's a very precise work. And outside of China, this technology is not there. Chinese are the people who started this idea of filling these tubes with concrete. And because it's all Chinese, you search internet, you get very less information about it. So, filling of concrete in the arch bridge, the welding, and other hidden defects. No amount of visual inspection will reveal them. You have to do the load test. So, in the load test, what they do is they measure the lateral and horizontal force and movement. Basically, movement. What is the movement? Then they check what is the rotation at different points. What are the stresses and strain, how much force is going into the various members. So this gives you a perfect analysis, a near perfect analysis of how the bridge is behaving. If the
When a full loaded train is running.
Full loaded train, say for example, heaviest freight train at 10% higher speed, suppose the speed of freight train is normally less 60 kilometers. Then a fully loaded freight train at 66 kilometer speed has to be tested. Similarly, a passenger train, 24 coach length, with fully packed with people, you put sandbags to simulate that thing, fill up the train with sandbags, and then 100 kmph is the speed, so it will be tested at 110 kmph. So you do these tests, and then for seismic forces and for wind forces, there are ways of simulating these forces. You put some vibrators on the huge, structures, this thing, machines, which can vibrate and transmit the kind of forces that it will experience in an earthquake. So it's a very elaborate thing. Now, what the CRS has done?
CRS is the Commissioner of
Railway Safety. Railway is fully complicated. Because, why did you call CRS without performing this test? You can't really call him. So these tests were not done, not on Chenab Bridge, not on NG Bridge, not on other 6-7 other bridges. They did not do any tests. CRS gave clearance for 2 sections out of 111 kilometers, everything except last 17 kilometers. He gave clearance, including Chenab Bridge, no load test. So that is when we woke up. I talked to Mr. This is happening. And remember, they had given assurance to the court that this line will be opened only after a thorough inspection by the CRS. So you are violating your own commitment to the High Court also. So after letter was sent, legal notice went, they did a showbazi on this third bridge, Anji Bridge. Because other three has already passed. So Anji Bridge, it's a sort of a public, I will say, media, it's not really a test. You complete it in 3-4 days, and I know there is no instrumentation, nothing. You just run a train Even the minister will tweet it, and everybody is tweeting, that freight train is running on this, and this is all. So they have not.
So they have not measured the stresses and
And strains and rotations and behavior, the quality of construction, or nothing has been checked. Now there is another aspect of safety aspect, that is fire safety. This railway line, 88% is in tunnels. Most of these tunnels are long tunnels. Okay, 88% of the line is in tunnels. About 6% is on the bridges. So about 88 plus 6, 94% is in tunnels and bridges. Tunnels are long. The longest tunnel is 12.5. Then there are 6 tunnels, which are longer than 8 kilometers. Now imagine a train. Train catch fire. It keeps happening over Indian Railways. Every month or two, you have one or two instances somewhere that there is a fire. Maybe somebody was doing something, cigarette butt or some electrical wire. Godhra is a famous thing, where history was made because wires, burnt or whatever it is. I don't know. But yeah, fire is a very big issue. Fire in trains. Now imagine a train getting stuck in a 10-kilometer long tunnel and catching fire. What will happen to the passengers? How will they escape from it? So, what had happened is, I mean, because I was curious about from the beginning. In the very first year when I joined the project, I proposed that we review the safety requirements of this whole line. And the general manager accepted my suggestion. A task force was committed. I was made the convener of the task force to examine the safety operational requirements of this line, because the DPR had not dealt with this. Till that time, I had not proposed any change of alignment. I was fully committed to completing this line, build it as safely as possible. So we examined the fire risk profile, uh, rescue relief profile of this whole line, and we recommended a regime of precautionary measures which have to be taken both in the tunnels and in the trains also. Now, recently, Vande Bharat, was that which will run on this train line will got a lot of publicity. That now Vande Bharat will run on this, and the general manager of a factory where this line is being built, is giving a video clip on Twitter and all the social media, YouTube, that our train is fit for freezing temperatures of the valley. But what about the fire safety? I asked immediately on that I inquired about it, and I am quite sure that CRS has neglected this aspect of fire safety and rescue and relief. So basically, there are two major safety issues. One is the load test on the bridges, including the cuttings on the bridge abutments and elsewhere, wherever you have high cuttings, they have to be subjected to load test. And fire safety and rescue and relief measures have to be thoroughly inspected with respect to what the earlier committee had recommended back in 2005. It was an accepted report. Okay, and if any, 2005 was very early times. Since then, a lot of knowledge has been gained, particularly after that accident in the Swiss tunnel, where I think 150 people were burnt alive in that accident. They were all athletes who were going to that ski resort. Very well off people. Perished. Only 12 people survived. So, I mean, these are the things to be taken very seriously. Fire safety, rescue and relief to be taken very seriously, as much as the load test aspect. So, so these are the safety issues. As I said, what money is lost, line capacity is lost, but at least we can ensure that the line is safe when it is open to the. And I will tell you that it will take at least 6 months to do a thorough testing of all the bridges and cuttings, the instrumentation. And let me also add this thing, because as I said, in case of Chenab Bridge, the concrete filling and all is mostly, but it is in China. In fact, art bridges are not being built anywhere in the world except China. outside of China, maybe Finland, somewhere very few small bridges. All the hard bridge construction is in China, particularly one part of China where there is a river, which is in a very steep road and there is no way you have to cross it with high bridges. So they have built, I think, 15, 16 record size, they are in the list of, you see the list of largest arch bridges, you will find most of them are in China. So what we are suggesting is, and we have mentioned in the press release also, that you engage an international consultant who has the requisite experience and knowledge to prepare a testing scheme. Because CRS is like other railway officers. Till 1 year back, he was a railway officer. Now he has gone on deputation as a CRS. And he has not, I know he has not consulted any expert. Normally CRSs have the power to summon anybody. They can call any expert to come and be a witness in front of him. He has not called any experts. But there are experts. Foreign experts also working in India. You could have called them and taken their opinion. It has not happened. So what we are saying is, defer opening of the line, appoint a reputed international consultant, because that expertise is not available in India. Let's accept it. So, and he should prepare a scheme, and then according to that scheme, you should carry out thorough inspection, load test, and other inspections of the line, including fire safety. Because fire safety and all, most of the work has been done in Europe because these disasters have taken place in Europe. London, Channel Tunnel, a freight train caught fire. The tunnel had to be closed for 6 months. One tunnel. So devastating consequences can be there. So this is engaged consultant. He should make a scheme, carry out complete inspection, then do whatever is necessary to ensure safety. This is the.
Just one thing I would add, we sent on his behalf proper legal notices to the railway minister and to the railway board regarding the non-safety testing of this line, particularly of the bridges. Not once, but 2 or 3.
3 letters I have sent.
Three letters he has sent, 2 I have sent. There is no response.
By the way, sir, just half an hour before this, I got a phone call from Principal Chief Engineer Northern Railway. They want to discuss with me. Now, I don't know what they want to discuss.
So in any case, you see, in this reckless attempt to show the Prime Minister inaugurating this Kashmir line, etc., they are just neglecting all the safety aspects, and God forbid, should there be any disaster, if any bridge collapses or there is any problem in the tunnel or there is any fire, etc., who will be held responsible? All these railway officials, including the railway minister, etc. And this is not unknown to the Prime Minister or others. Everybody knows, because Mr. Alok Verma has been consistently writing. I have also sent notices, etc. Mr. Sridharan has been highlighting this issue also. The other aspect is that, you see, he said that they have wasted 30,000-40,000 crores excess money on this.
33,000.
They have made a line which will have 8 bogies, running only 10 trains in a day on either side, as opposed to a lower cost double line where they could have run 180 trains of full
180 pairs.
180 pairs of full bogies of whatever 20-25 bogies.
This is actual performance.
That means you could have had a capacity which was 20 times or 30 times the present capacity. I mean, this is just for show ultimately. If you are running 8 trains or 10 trains in a day of 8 bogies, you are hardly carrying any passengers on this significant number of passengers. And they have not learnt any lesson from this line for the other mountain railways, the Char Dham railway, the Leh railway,
and Kerala Silver Line.
So they are continuing with the same thing, same issues there also. which means that they are choosing an alignment which is a serpentine alignment where you have artificially put a constraint on the slope. There was no problem, which Sridharan committee pointed out. There is absolutely no problem with having a higher slope. 144 as he had proposed. No problem whatsoever. Yet you have put an artificial constraint with the result that you have a serpentine line and you are having all these problems of exceeding the time. In this case, there is a time overrun of 15 years.
22 minus 5, 17.
17 years. There is a cost overrun of 7 times.
6 times.
6
After
times.
adjusting for inflation.
There is a the total carrying capacity has been reduced to 1/4 or 1/5 of what? 1/3 of what?
At least 1/3. It would be lower.
So therefore, it's really unfortunate that the government doesn't learn anything from these fiascos.
When the norm to gradient was changed? And what was the trigger?
It's a very interesting.
And what was the trigger?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and it is the crux of the judgment by Delhi High Court in my service matter, because it all began with my service matter. They removed me from the project. I was having a spinal disc problem. They said, no, you go immediately, no leave, nothing. So I went to the court. In that court gave the judgment. What they did was, when this first expert committee was examining, they were veering towards my idea. Because the kind of discussions we're taking, they were going towards my idea. Yes, what he said makes sense. Then these two members of the railway board, they called the file, which the previous member had sent to the minister, Mamata Banerjee. And in that he had recorded in 20 pages everything about this project. 20 pages detailed notes he had recorded. That file was removed, and these two people, they imposed arbitrarily this limit that it will not, the alignment solution will not have a gradient more than 180. And immediately they stopped. Amber, Swiss consultant, was carrying out ground surveys of my alignment. They stopped that also. So this is after examining everything, the court concluded that these two officers, members of railway board, acted in self-interest and they scuttled a proper consideration of the alignment issue.
What was their self-interest at that stage?
I think it was more of escaping fear of getting held accountable, because these people were projecting a very rosy picture. The project is performing very well.
But whether the note by those two people was accepted by the railway board?
Yes.
Or were they capable to have that kind of note?
No. You see, this is what happens, in railway board. Let us be frank, it's there in the report. There is a lot of departmentalism. People keep fighting with each other. But when it comes to the self-interest, they all join. This is the story of railway board. In this project, once these two members have written something, nobody will question it. And it went through. And this is what, you see, despite this, Ravindra committee said that this limit of 1 in 80 is irrational. It should be reviewed.
And that was after that note?
No. Yes, after that note, because their conscience did not permit this thing.
And what was the Ravindra committee?
The first expert committee which was formed. There were two expert committees. Second was appointed by court. When they found that the first committee review was scuttled and the first committee was not able to do its job, so they appointed the second committee, which was headed by Mr. E. Sridharan. So this first expert committee was scuttled and prevented from a proper exam, but their conscience was there. They said this limit is arbitrary. So this is the sort of a sad story of this project. And of course, Sridharan committee said this is an international law. In our country also, we have gradient up to 1 in 35, and trains are running perfectly well. There is no, and modern locomotives have got very good braking capacity, and the linkages of trains are very, very good. So there is no question, no need of any such limit of gradient. Even you might be surprised to know that these TGV high-speed lines, particularly, they have gradient of 1 in 33, and they achieve normally they achieve 300. On steep gradient they go up to 200 kmph. And same in Germany and some lines in China also. So now the technology is so advanced. You are running high-speed trains on 1 in 33 gradient, so 1 in 44 is no problem.
ये आपका है? Oh, yours.
Sir, please send me some documents by email. I give you.
I'll send you.
वो तो आप ले ही लीजिए तो
ले
I'll send you a request. Ask for the report.
Yes. Whatever you can send.
Yeah.
Thank you.